Jaguars are also getting Trevor Lawrence back from a shoulder injury.
So it's his left shoulder, had a labral repair in his left shoulder. I think majority of the comments usually go towards, well, it's his left shoulder, shouldn't worry about it at all. The main thing it really impacts, I would say, is deep throw accuracy, velocity and accuracy, mostly because of how, when the quarterback has to generate torque, there's an impact on your biomechanics when you're dealing with something like that, even on the opposite side.
What is going on, fantasy family? Is your resident Swami of Konami, Rich Hribar, and I am here with part 3 of my podcast series with Jeff Mueller. He is a doctor of physical therapy. He is a fantasy football injury analyst for Destination Devy and at 4for4 Football. We did a show where we covered all the wide receiver injuries. We did a show where we covered all the running back injuries. Now we're going to dive into some quarterbacks and tight ends. I hate to put them both together, the two onesie positions, but this is kind of where we are. Let's kick some things off, Jeff, at the top here with Dak Prescott, who's coming off of a hamstring injury that forced, I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback have a hamstring injury. Maybe you maybe have another one, a guy in like the database here, like just basically get shut down for a hamstring injury that was this severe. Dak's gonna be 32 years old. So like, how are we handling this hamstring injury with Dak? And should we even be worried about it at this point?
I'm not as worried about this as much as I would be, say, if it was a more mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts. I think as a pocket passer, the only thing I would be concerned about with Dak Prescott, and as of right now, he has kind of cooled any concerns for me at least, would be biomechanics, return to throwing, velocity, because you put a good amount of torque, especially as a right-hand thrower, through your right leg, through your hamstring to stabilize and push off. That would be my main concern, but he's been, as we mentioned in the last segment, everyone's in the best shape of their life. He's actually in really good shape. I'll be honest. He looks like
he's someone that when we've seen is we've never thought that about Dak Prescott.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, minus his near MVP season, I think, whatever the year that was. He was in really good shape then. He actually is moving really well. He looks like he's in really good shape. So from a hamstring repair standpoint, proximal repair, I don't really have many concerns on him entering this season.
Yeah, and like you brought up the rushing, and we had already lost out. Like Dak Prescott's like early career rushing days were already dwindling. So the fact that we weren't drafting him for that anymore, and he just is like a pocket passer, I think that does alleviate some of the concerns that you might have, and it's why his price point will never go crazy, because gamers understand like that archetype, the runners, and they look where Justin Fields is going, right? Like Justin Fields is on his third team in 3 years. And we just understand the value and the floor that these guys have while fantasy is scored the way it is, that, it's just so weighted for this, rushing production. Someone should have wrote something about that at some point. But you look at Dak and you getting a George Pickens, upgrade in terms of over Jalen Tolbert. You've got to feel good about that as well. And this team should throw the football a lot. I know that they did hire, the Cardinals offensive coordinator, I forget his name. It eludes me at the tip of my tongue, but comes from under Drew Petzing. But Brian Schottenheimer has been a lot more pass heavy than, earlier in his career as well. This is a team, I think we look at their backfield too, like they're going to have to throw, especially you combine it with their secondary too. Their secondary's got a bunch of questions. Yeah. They got a bunch of pass rushers, but we'll see, because we talk about we talked about Stephon Diggs. His brother's also coming back from a pretty bad injury too, as well. So, Cowboys secondary's got some questions as well. So the fact that we weren't drafting him for rushing, I think alleviates a lot of those concerns. I do want to talk about a quarterback that had some mobility that we didn't get to see on display, and that's JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy misses all of last year with the meniscus injury, 10th overall pick in last year's draft. We only got to see him for 19 dropbacks in the preseason last year. I will say they were good dropbacks. Yeah. There was 11 yards per pass attempt with 2 tuds. I know it's preseason, but hey, we'll take what we can get from a first sample of a player. We know what Kevin O'Connell's quarterbacks have done too. You go back 2 years ago, what he did with Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs for a little bit. And we saw what he did with Sam Darnold. So JJ McCarthy's someone I want to be optimistic at as a player and the system environment that he's walking into. Should I have any concerns about, him from a mobility stance? Because this guy is a pretty good athlete, an underrated, sneaky athlete.
From a mobility and from an injury standpoint, I don't have as many concerns as I did early on. I think the first reports came out, I think it was February, maybe actually in season, when some of those reports came out that he was still dealing with inflammation, swelling in his knee. They were going in for a second procedure. They didn't wind up actually doing a second procedure. They didn't find anything, no mechanical or structural damage inside the knee that had to be addressed. But while they were in there, they, I guess, used some biologics just to help healing. And sometimes we see that coming off these meniscus repairs where the cartilage just gets a little irritated. Longer term, I can think of, and you can probably think of some of these cases where even across multiple sports, like Jerick McKinnon, Javon Kinlaw stand out, James Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, some of these guys where they get these knee surgeries and it just stays inflamed for a while. And I think that's what was happening with JJ McCarthy, where it just wasn't healing fully early on. And it actually was setting him back a little bit just in terms of weight gain, strength training, some of his progressions in rehab. But all of my concerns on that have been alleviated because, just seeing some of the videos on his progress, he's been progressing through his throwing program. Actually, I think he's done now through his throwing program. He's actually gained more weight now. We've seen that, which means he's been, and it's not bad weight. It's not like he's fat now, like Big Ben or something, but he's been gaining a lot of weight strength wise. He's been in the gym. That tells me a lot just in terms of load bearing. Anytime there's meniscus or cartilage damage, you have to be concerned about load bearing and how the knee is handling that, along with some shear, like how does his knee respond, the cartilage respond to when he puts his foot in the ground and twists. That's huge for pocket mobility and navigation. And he's been doing that now. So I think if there were any issues that would have popped up by now and we would have seen some other changes from Minnesota where they would have pursued other quarterbacks a little bit heavier, like the Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones type stuff that all the reports were showing. I don't necessarily think we see a lot of mobility from him, at least designed yet this year, probably next year. Right. Based on all their moves, I mean, they bolstered their offensive line like crazy. They brought in Jordan Mason. They have Aaron Jones there. I think they're going to heavily rely on the run game just to alleviate some of those early concerns off JJ McCarthy because it's basically his first year. But as a pocket passer, man, I am super high on this kid. I think he's going to return really well. I don't have many concerns just from an injury standpoint or re-injury standpoint.
Yeah, the Vikings are a team I've gotten a little bit involved in their futures market a little bit too, because I just really feel like if he just protects the football better than Sam Darnold did, there's just like the infrastructure of this team is just too good. Like the defense is so good. Like you said, the offensive line got better on paper. Now they will miss Christian Darrisaw for a little bit to start the season, but he's got Justin Jefferson. He's got TJ Hawkinson coming back a full year from the ACL. Like they've got weapons, they've got the infrastructure to run the football more than I think that they have the under Kevin O'Connell's tenure in Minnesota. I've compared him a lot to like maybe having like a Brock Purdy-esque range of outcomes from like fantasy football, like where he's not going to have 600 dropbacks, but he can have efficient dropbacks based on the infrastructure. And you look at Darnold, 8% sack rate, that was 28th in the NFL, 19th in interception rate, 32nd in turnover worthy throw. Like if McCarthy, because he didn't do this at Michigan, he didn't do any of those things.
Yeah.
If he's able to just protect the football and operate with like a level of efficiency that the system has produced, like for any quarterbacks, like we talk about Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs, like, man, like this team feels like it is really built to win a lot of football games. So hopefully I'm not jinxing the Minnesota Vikings fans out there, but I'm counting on JJ McCarthy to be healthy. I like that. I like him a lot from a fantasy stance, especially in these 2 QB builds and super flex. And if you're drafting 3 quarterback builds, he's been a big part of that. Let's move on to one last quarterback here. Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, we got a lot of moving parts from like, we brought up Liam Cohen when we talked about Chris Godwin on the receiver show. But the Jaguars are also, getting Trevor Lawrence back from a shoulder injury. So, how much is that shoulder injury an impact on him this offseason? And should we even really, kind of be factoring in that into his outlook?
Yeah, I think a lot of people see this as, so it's his left shoulder, had a labral repair in his left shoulder. I think majority of the comments usually go towards, well, it's his left shoulder, shouldn't worry about it at all. The main thing it really impacts, I would say, is deep throw accuracy, velocity and accuracy, mostly because of how, when the quarterback has to generate torque, there's an impact on your biomechanics when you're dealing with something like that, even on the opposite side. But usually, if there's any concerns there, it would show up early in season and it would go away very quickly just as they're working through a lot of the mechanics stuff. And there's a really good chance that he's already worked through it already, just given the time frame. I think my main concern is that's the main concern coming off the left shoulder labral repair. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen, his deep throw accuracy was already kind of a struggle. So I'm really curious to watch that early on. But Liam Cohen, I mean, he schemed up. In theory, it shouldn't impact him significantly for fantasy purposes because he schemes up so many good reads.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence already kind of hones in on his first read as it is. So I don't know. For fantasy purposes, I'm not really concerned about it. But if there's any issues, that'll probably pop up in his deep throw accuracy.
And that was kind of all we had from Trevor Lawrence last year in that, that scheme. He actually had his highest deep passing rate of his career. His ADOT was only below Anthony Richardson's, which, that's kind of like wasn't his game in college either. And when he had that host of like that bevy of just awesome receivers that Clemson was just like rotating through. And that's what Liam Cohen did at Baker Mayfield, was getting the ball out. I mean, he had his fastest time to throw since his rookie season. I mean, just under 50% of his throws were within 2.5 seconds of snap. We talked about Godwin, a lot of those quick hitters that's going to be installed in this offense. So let me at least pivot to that and kind of be adjacent to it. So he's not a quarterback or a tight end, but I just get your take on here because it's a fantasy football show. I ask everyone your Travis Hunter opinion this year.
In regards to staying healthy or
no, I want your just fantasy. I just want your fantasy take. Like, are you pro Travis Hunter? Are you just saying I don't know? You get all those things confined. I just kind of want to see how you're handling Travis Hunter and fantasy because everyone has a different answer.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I think my opinion has changed because early on I was like, man, they wouldn't trade up for this guy if they're not going to heavily utilize him as a wide receiver, or at least even if he's on the field offensively, like say defensively, say his snap rate matches something like Deion Sanders in 1996. Defensively, he was like 80% of the snaps. Offensively, I think 50%, 40%. But when he was on the field, he was schemed touches, and that's what Liam Cohen does. So when Travis Hunter is on the field, I would think he's going to be schemed the ball heavily. So even if he's on, like I could see him be a guy who he plays 50% of the offensive snaps, but winds up with 6 receptions, 60, 70 yards, every single game. It's like, how do I not want to pick that guy? And probably utilize in the red zone as well. But obviously his price is pretty high.
And if that's the plan, and like say that the plan is like, hey, we're only gonna have him play 50%, we'll scheme some stuff for him. And what if he crushes? Like, how do you rebottle that?
Yeah. The main drawback is some of the comments where, and I think this is why he at first in camp started as a wide receiver, because all the comments have been, well, cornerback is his more natural position. So we want to get him more reps in practice at wide receiver. That makes me think like, well, okay, so in game, they're probably going to use him more as a corner than a wide receiver. But again, if he's on the field and they scheme him touches, I want the player who's schemed touches in Liam Cohen's offense. Right. So I'm even on like De'Ami Brown, because when Hunter's not on the field, De'Ami Brown's probably going to be scheme touches.
Football season is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and ride your roster all season long. And right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. Just draft your dream team once, no weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. Across the whole season, every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count towards your quest for a share of $15 million. And if you're looking for someone to plug into your best ball lineup, there's nothing better to buy than year 2 wide receivers. Looking at wideouts that have been selected outside of the top 24 based on years in the league, second-year wideouts have delivered the highest hit rates for beating their ADP. and delivering wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 scoring seasons. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million and get a second ticket to play free for a share of $15 million. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
I love that you brought up Diami Brown, another real good best ball pick for those same reasons. And then you get contingency value on him for if anything were happening to the other two guys as well. Yeah, I think Travis Hunter is one of these guys too. Like my whole thing is I haven't want to put a cap on him because he hasn't shown us a ceiling, right? Like he's consistently delivered. Just because something hasn't happened doesn't mean it can't happen. And maybe you can disagree from like a medical background, like can he actually, just play this many snaps? I think if they wanted to reduce the snaps, it would be fairly easy to say like, hey, if it's 1st and 10 on defense, like you're off the field, dude. Like you're just like, we don't need like, you know what I mean? Like we'll play.
Yeah, you don't need to be out there.
He can play on pure passing downs and rotate and stuff. Like there's ways to work around this to where like, you can alleviate the snaps. But I go back to his pro day and I forget if it was either Dane Brugler or Daniel Jeremiah. I've told the story a couple times. So like they talked about just like how much he was doing running routes and then flipped and played cornerback. And they're like, he has not been sweating. Like, and they're just like what kind of human is this? Like, so it's like number 1 recruit ever that when he was coming out of high school goes to, obviously goes to Jackson State and just delivers on everything, all the promise he had as number 1 recruit, first player ever to win the Heisman as a Chuck Bednarik winner and the Fred Biletnikoff winner in the same year. It's like, it's not that he played both positions like Charles Woodson. Like the dude won the award for the best DB and the best wide receiver in the country. Like, I just feel like we can't put a ceiling on it just because we're trying to guesswork how many snaps the dude's going to play. I will say though, someone else in your league probably likes him a lot too for the same pie in the sky outcome. He's probably a guy I'm going to get more in auctions than I will in like just snake drafts because of that. But he is someone, at least in auctions, I'm going to nibble on and see like kind of where the price goes. So, there's always these players, right, that are like, hey, I want this guy, but someone else wants him too. And we'll see if I'm willing to pay the iron price or not. So that's kind of where I've been to. So
I was talking to Ryan Heath recently, and I just haven't had time to look into this. This was like a couple of days ago, even. If you're concerned about overall snap rate and just from an injury standpoint, when I look at Travis Hunter, the main thing I would be concerned about, not necessarily early season, but I would want to look into what's their travel schedule, what's their mid to late season look like, and how is that going to impact his rest and recovery? Because if he's playing offense and defensive snaps, especially at like 120%, 130% or higher, his rest and recovery has to be near perfect, right? That's going to be what gets him through the season. And especially for fantasy purposes, that's going to be what helps him produce in mid to late season for us.
Did you guys look at this on the show?
It was just in DMs, so I don't know if he's.
So I have it right in front of me right now since you brought it up. I just want to look. So the Jaguars have a week 8 bye. Okay, the first 7 games of the season, they only play 2 road games. Then the back half, it's 2, 4, 6 road games after week 8. And then in the fantasy playoffs, he's on the road week 17 and week 16 and week 17. So it's front loaded in terms of, home games versus road games.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I kind of wish it was opposite
flipped.
Of that.
You wish it was flipped?
Yeah. Cause then you could heavy load of traveling, and maybe his rest and recovery won't be exactly what he wants it to be on the road, especially if they're going from like a Monday night game to a Thursday night game or a Sunday to a Thursday, whatever it might be. But
listen to the Jaguars. They're only getting 2 primetime games.
Well, right. Yeah. You're right. Well, and then so
we have a Monday nighter. London, because that's actually looking at their home game. Yeah, I forget. These are like 2 of these are London games because they are their home field is London now.
So
I'm glad that you brought that up because those are London games.
Yeah, that's on, and the hard part is you won't know that. I mean, you have to pick them now, right?
Right.
You won't know how that's going to be until you actually get there. So you just kind of have to hope. And I would assume, I mean, he got through college pretty good, but NFL's different,
Right.
I would hope he's rest and recovery. His regimen is like locked down, or at least it improves throughout the season and it gets him through the whole season.
Yeah, and we talk about some of these rookies, some of this overs. Look, Josh Norris has brought this up time and time again, is that rookie NFL players really don't get an off season. Like the only time in their careers because they come right off of college to preparing for the NFL draft, the combine, and those things. They kind of just none of these guys have really they get an off season. We kind of take that for granted sometimes. That that's the only time in their career that they want to have a true off season. But I got two more players to talk to you about real quick before I get you out of here. Their tight ends. One is a rookie as well. So let's talk about it. This one's kind of flying. It's not necessarily flying under the radar. I think people are aware about it. No one talks about it though. And it's Colston Loveland having, surgery. We knew that because, this time last year in college, but he had the AC joint surgery, I believe is what it was. There doesn't seem to be any type of concern. We haven't seen him. He wasn't at rookie OTAs. We haven't seen if he's going to be missing any time at camp. So what do we know about his injury, and are we expecting him to miss any of this like early install for him?
Yeah, so this is not a normal, like the main thing I would want people to realize on his injury, this is not a normal AC sprain or repair. It wasn't like a stage 3 or a grade 3 like Anthony Richardson's. It was, if you look into it, grade 5, where part of the clavicle was actually puncturing his upper trap and some of the other musculature in the area. The fact he was playing through this, I think, since week 1 in college last year. So just the fact that I think he gets bumped down in pass blocking, run blocking grades. The fact that he was even playing was absolutely remarkable, and the fact that he played all season and produced as good as he did with a
right
insane target share, it's phenomenal. So that being said, I think especially when in terms of rookies coming off injury, the main thing I look at is how much time have they missed and how much time have they been able to work on like install and learning the offense and getting those reps in, because that could really set you back. But on the flip side of it, I do think I think majority of people think he's more talented than Cole Kmet.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've seen, he's either going to start camp full go or within the first week or two, he's going to be full go. So
we like that.
We like that. Yeah. Now, do I like his price? I think it's starting to rise. I think last time I looked at it, it was like tight end 14 or maybe tight end 12 now.
It's even getting in there now, especially if you're playing an FFPC or anything. It's really starting to climb.
Yeah. Which honestly, when you get to those, it's still up until what, tight end 6, you're probably drafting a tight end that's going to score like 9 to 10 points anyways, right? They're all kind of grouped together anyways.
Yeah, I would say after Kittle, it's pretty.
Yeah. So it's like, take your guy, take him and just enjoy it, I guess. But I just don't know how much he's going to produce early on, especially if Burden is going to wind up being the player that people think he is.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are just another team that has just like a ton of moving parts in terms of the Ben Johnson hire. They draft 2 guys in the top 40 that are pass catchers. We're hoping for like a bounce back from Rome Odunze for a year or two. We still know DJ Moore is a talented player, even though it kind of is fleeting when we kind of get to see that. They add to the offensive line. Obviously, we have to take a step of faith on Caleb Williams play himself. So like the Bears just have like a lot of moving parts that are really tricky to diagnose. And I think it's reflected in like a lot of the price points of their players, as a lot of gamers kind of have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They have a really rough schedule though too. They have an absolutely like really rough schedule, especially in these 1 quarterback leagues. If you're drafting Caleb Williams, I've kind of talked about like you might not even use Caleb Williams early in the season if you draft him. So if you're a 1 quarterback league, I don't even think he's really on my board right now because they have a week 5 bye early. They have the first bye week. And then they start with Minnesota, at Detroit, Dallas, and then you have a Raiders game mixed in there. But like you might not even play him for the first 5 weeks, factoring the bye. And to me, like I'll just get another quarterback. Like so it does take a step of faith for all this stuff to kind of come and work together. Maybe the Bears are a team that kind of ramp up as the season goes on, and maybe Loveland's part of that, but I'm still a little nervous based on their opening schedule and all the moving parts that like they really hit the ground running and we see like full on like hype steam Bears again. I'm a little bit more cautious on that, and I've been a little bit lower on Loveland just for that, not necessarily for the injury. There's one last tight end here. Another shoulder injury for our tight end. We were rolling 3 shoulder injuries in a row if you're counting Trevor Lawrence, and that's Evan Engram. Just kind of talk about like how different his injury is compared to Loveland's, and if there's anything here that we need to be concerned about with Evan Engram.
Yeah, I think so. Like with Loveland, there would be some re-injury concern or like flare-up concern, just in terms of impact and jolting from like pass blocking, run blocking, just the impact from defenders. I don't think we're going to have that as much concern on that for Evan Ingram, especially because he probably won't be used to block as much anyways. But view it very similar to one guy I can think of. Like view it more of like a pass catcher like T. Higgins in 2022. Where he had his labrum repaired in his shoulder. And there's really low concern re-injury risk wise in terms of the labral injury, but also in terms of receiving ability. As long as, you kind of have to assume they restore their range of motion to full and their strength to full, but that would also, they wouldn't be fully cleared to practice. And he'd probably would start on PUP if that was the case. So I don't really have much concern on Evan Ingram entering this season. And I think he's a guy, especially for best ball, man, the way Sean Payton uses his tight ends, and then Bo Nix, if he makes that jump year 2, I actually like Ingram at tight end, just cost-wise.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in that group of guys that we talked about, right? Like after the post Kittle, or kind of he's in that nebulous zone of like, this guy is going to be out there. He's going to score some points. And if they want to do something similar to what we talked about the Bears potentially doing at Loveland, this obviously still exists for Evan Ingram, a guy who's not known for his run blocking on any degree. And they still have, Sean Payton's guy, Adam Troutman. He just loves Adam Troutman, but who he blocked on 66% of snaps last year. So if they want to do that, they could still just have him line up and basically be kind of a glorified slot receiver. So I think that covers just about, all of it. Oh, wait, I got one wild card here for you that I didn't give you on the show sheet. He's a tight end. I think technically. Is Taysom Hill going to play this year?
I thought you were going to say Dalton Kincaid. Taysom Hill, man, his knee was blown out, and I'd have to look at the time frame.
He's 35.
Yeah.
People forget that because the BYU stuff, but
yeah, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'd be very. I haven't been drafting him at all. I mean, he was always viewed as this like cheat code best ball guy.
Yeah, you don't see it this year, but
yeah, I'm not even touching him, honestly. If he plays, I think it's going to be very late in season, like week 13, week 14, and at that point, it would be his first games back. I think if he plays this year. Very good chance it's similar to like Tank Dell, where Tank Dell is probably going to be out all year.
If you have something on Kincaid, I'd be willing to hear it too.
Man, his case, I am fully off of Kincaid, and I understand the talent that he is like in his touches. I've seen some metrics where he's like top of the charts at tight end, even though he doesn't get the volume. He's right. He gets yards per route run and all the metrics where he's like top of the charts. But he had the left PCL sprain last year that he's still healing from, and he had surgery on his right knee, and he lost a ton of weight. I don't know if you've seen those pictures recently. Man, he lost a ton of weight. And the main thing with him was he was supposed to gain a lot of weight so that he could be used more inline, and that hasn't happened. So I know Bills Mafia, a lot of the fan base or content creators for the Bills have been kind of frustrated and not sure how to. They are calling him a bust already. I don't know if he's necessarily a bust, but just from a fantasy standpoint, I would be very cautious about drafting Dalton Kincaid this year.
Oh, I love that. Listen, that's a gem on the way out there. I love to see that. And Kincaid was someone at his cost last year I was off of because of what you talked about, is the not being able to be on the field full time, and especially on a team that they're like the Bills are too good to have a ton of dropbacks too. So it was kind of just both things paired together. It was like, oh wow, this guy's gonna concede snaps to Dawson Knox, who's active in the run game, and Dawson Knox is still around at least for one more year. And the Bills are never going to be a team that throws like 600 passes because they're just too good. They're too good of a real football team to ever really put in those kind of game scripts. So I was off him. And then like the lack of touchdown upside, like he reminded me very much his early career. Evan Ingram is who I comped him to, like was one of my top comps. So I wasn't paying like the iron price for him last year. And this year he's kind of sagged down, and I haven't really been drafting a ton of him, but he's been kind of just in that no man's land. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I think that's very actionable news on the way out there. That's the kind of stuff you get from Jeff, man. So listen, Jeff, it was great to finally hang out with you, talk some injuries, talk some football. You're someone that I've interacted with on Twitter for the last couple of years. I've enjoyed a lot of your content. I would encourage anyone else also to kind of follow his content. So let everyone know, one, where they can follow your content at, what you have in the pipeline for the 2025 season.
Yeah, mostly on Twitter or X at JM Thrive PT. In season, I write content for 4 for 4, and then I do a podcast with Destination Devi. And I also started, I recently started it, so not much content's up there, but I'll try to put more content out there just randomly. Kind of my freedom area is on YouTube, the Mueller Injury Report. And yeah, those are the areas that you can find me on, and I'll enjoy producing more injury content this year, and hopefully using one thing I love doing is blending utilization with injury analysis too, versus just purely using injury data. And that has skyrocketed a lot of the analysis and accuracy. So it's been a joy, and hopefully I'll interact with you guys more. And Rich, thank you very much for inviting me onto the show. It's been great.
Yeah, always. Listen, for Jeff, for Mecca Igbuka, I definitely wanted to get his name right, going out the door after just botching it all the time. As a reminder, you can go to sharpfootballanalysis.com, use promo code SHARP5 for $5 off the 2025 preview book or the 2025 draft kit that myself and Raymond Summerlin are doing. And I've put up 2 series the last 2 weeks. I have another one going on with League Trends right now, so check those out. For everyone, good luck for the upcoming, season, and we'll be back next week.